You trust your grocery store. You've been walking the same aisles at the same Real Canadian Superstore or Sobeys or Metro for years, and the freezer section feels like familiar territory. You know which brands cost more and which ones don't. You've developed a sense, quiet, automatic, of what's worth buying and what isn't. That sense feels like experience. But here's what that sense can't account for. The frozen food aisle in Canadian grocery stores is not a curated shelf of products held to any common standard. It is a commercial space where brands compete for shelf position, packaging impact, and the specific moment when a tired, budget-conscious shopper needs to make a quick decision. Some of what sits in those freezer doors is genuinely well-made. Some of it is among the most nutritionally compromised food regularly sold in this country. And the gap between the two is invisible to the eye, because every single package in that aisle looks like dinner. The frozen meal category in Canada generates billions of dollars in annual sales. It feeds families on weeknights across every province. It serves students in Halifax and Calgary and Windsor. It fills the plates of shift workers in Fort McMurray and warehouse staff in Mississauga who don't have the time or energy to cook from scratch after a long day and a longer commute. This is not a niche category with a niche audience. It is mainstream Canadian food, which is exactly why the brands that consistently fail that audience deserve to be specifically identified. Here is the baseline that matters. Health Canada recommends most adults stay under 200-300 milligrams of sodium per day. Nutrition research consistently links ultra-processed food, products with long ingredient lists dominated by stabilizers, flavor systems, and modified starches, with higher rates of cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, and weight gain. Canada's own food guide has moved sharply away from processed food in its most recent iteration. And yet the brands driving the highest volume in the Canadian frozen meal category continue to sell products that sit at the worst end of all these indicators week after week at every major grocery chain in the country. 10 of them, across different price points, different categories, different positioning strategies. Some present as budget staples, some as comfort food institutions, some as health-conscious choices. Some carry the trust of the retailer's house brand. All of them, on the evidence of what is actually in them, belong on a list a Canadian shopper should know before they reach into that freezer. The pattern connecting all 10 is not price. A $2 tray and an $8 tray can fail you in exactly the same way. High sodium, low protein, and ingredient lists that prioritize manufacturing efficiency over nutritional delivery. The price only changes your expectation. It doesn't change what's happening inside the package. And this is where the assumption starts to collapse, because several of these brands are ones you have almost certainly bought before. The first pattern runs through the bottom of the price tier, and it starts with the most visible offender. Michelina's is the anchor of the budget frozen meal section at No Frills, Food Basics, and Walmart Canada. Typically priced between $1.50 and $2, $0 per tray. That price feels like a rational concession, not ideal but manageable. What you're actually buying for that price is a tray containing 700 to 900 milligrams of sodium, minimal usable protein relative to the calorie load, and an ingredient list built around modified cornstarch, textured vegetable protein, and sodium phosphates. It is food designed to be cheap to manufacture and familiar enough to repurchase. Nourishment is not in the design brief. Hungry Man makes the Michelina's sodium profile look almost moderate. The Conagra brand's premise is simple: a large meal for a low price. Many Hungry Man trays available at Walmart Canada carry over 1,500 milligrams of sodium. Several reach 2,000. That represents your entire recommended daily sodium allotment in one sitting, before the rest of your day's food is counted. The product is aggressively visible in the freezer section, large trays, prominent shelf space, and the portion size is deliberately used to create a value perception that obscures a nutritional profile no registered dietitian in Canada would endorse as a regular meal. Stouffer's operates at a higher price point with the language of home-style comfort food, and that positioning buys it a level of trust the nutritional facts do not justify. A portion of Stouffer's lasagna consistently delivers over 100 milligrams of sodium. The ingredient list includes disodium inosinate, and disodium guanylate, flavor-enhancing additives that appear specifically when the actual flavor ingredients have been reduced below the threshold of palatability. Stauffer's family-sized products are among the highest sodium items in the frozen entree category at Loblaws and Superstore. The warmth and familiarity of the brand is the mechanism by which the sodium numbers stay invisible. Swanson completes the first tier of this list as the oldest brand in the frozen dinner category in North America, the originator of the TV tray, still present in Canadian grocery stores, still carrying a name that conjures generational recognition. A Swanson frozen dinner can contain over 1,000 milligrams of sodium and an ingredient list of nearly 30 items. The brand's history is not a quality signal. It is a legacy being borrowed by a product that has not evolved to match where responsible frozen food has gone. These four brands share a common structure: low or medium price, high sodium, and an ingredient architecture that prioritizes manufacturing efficiency over nutritional delivery. They are available at virtually every major Canadian grocery banner, and they are bought on habit and price by shoppers who have stopped reading the label because they've already read it 100 times before. If recognizing these names is already shifting how you look at your freezer aisle, subscribe, because the next section covers the brands using health language to hide the same problems in plain sight. The next part is where it gets more uncomfortable, because the brands in this section don't look like budget compromises. They look like the smart, considered alternatives. And that is precisely what makes them more consequential. Lean Cuisine has spent decades positioning itself in Canadian grocery stores as the responsible choice for people who care about what they eat. The name communicates restraint before the package is even opened. Low-calorie counts dominate the front of pack. Small portions. The implication of informed eating. Available at Loblaws, Superstore and Metro, Lean Cuisine occupies the tier that reads as health-conscious rather than budget-driven. The distinction between low-calorie and nourishing is where Lean Cuisine consistently fails. Many products in the Canadian Lean Cuisine range carry 700 to 900 milligrams of sodium per meal, in a portion size small enough that the density of sodium per calorie is extremely high. Protein levels are frequently insufficient for satiety, meaning you are hungry again within 2 hours, reaching for additional food that eliminates the caloric savings the meal was supposed to deliver. Carrageenan, maltodextrin, and multiple modified starches appear in the ingredient list. For a brand that Canadian shoppers associate with eating better, the actual nutritional delivery is a significant step below what the packaging promises. Marie Callender's targets the premium comfort zone. The pot pies, hearty casseroles, and pasta bakes at Walmart Canada and Real Canadian Superstore sit above the budget tier. And that price difference communicates quality the way price always communicates quality in Canadian grocery, implicitly, effectively, without needing to prove it. A Marie Callender's chicken pot pie frequently carries over 300 milligrams of sodium. These are positioned as regular family meals, not occasional indulgences. That positioning makes the nutritional profile a recurring dietary exposure, not a one-time exception. Hot Pockets has a wide presence in Canadian Walmart and Superstore freezer sections and at least avoids the pretense of being health food. But they are sold as convenient everyday food, the kind of thing handed to a teenager after school, packed in a lunch bag, or grabbed before an early shift at a distribution center. At that frequency of use, 700 plus milligrams of sodium per unit, and a refined flour and processed meat base are not a reasonable shortcut. They are a consistent dietary pattern that accumulates. Pillsbury Pizza Pops occupy a uniquely Canadian version of this same category. Pizza Pops are culturally embedded in the Canadian experience in a way Hot Pockets are not. They've been in Canadian grocery stores for decades. They are a staple of convenience stores and hockey arenas, and they carry a genuine nostalgia factor for shoppers who grew up eating them. That cultural warmth is doing real work for a product that, nutritionally, delivers high sodium, refined carbohydrates, and processed filling in a format marketed to children and teenagers. These 5 brands, Lean Cuisine, Marie Callender's, Hot Pockets, Pizza Pops, and one more examined in the next section, use packaging, price positioning, and cultural familiarity as quality proxies. The ingredient list is where that performance ends. And this is the detail most Canadian shoppers never notice. The front of a frozen food package is advertising. The ingredient panel is disclosure. Both are required by law. Only one is trying to inform you. The final part is the one that changes how you actually spend money. And this is where the last three brands on this list land, because they carry the highest gap between what Canadian shoppers assume and what is actually inside. President's Choice, loaded frozen appetizers. The PC loaded potato skins, the PC chicken wings, the party pack items found across Loblaws, no frills, and Real Canadian Superstore. Benefit from a house brand halo that the PC line has legitimately earned in other categories. PC Black Label products and PC Organics have genuine quality credentials. But the PC Entertainment and Appetizer line, particularly the loaded and party format products, carry sodium levels and ingredient compositions that don't reflect the quality standards the brand implies. A serving of PC loaded potato skins can carry over 600 milligrams of sodium, and the serving sizes are stated in small numbers that significantly underrepresent actual consumption at a social gathering. These products are bought with brand trust, extended from a different part of the PC range. They have not earned it independently. Compliments frozen entrees, the Sobeys house brand available at Sobeys, IGA, and FreshCo occupy a similar position. The Compliments brand spans a wide quality range. Their Compliments Balance line includes some reasonable products. But the standard Compliments frozen dinner line, particularly the pasta and rice entrees in the budget section, carries sodium loads and ingredient lists consistent with the worst of the national brands. The house brand positioning creates an implicit endorsement from the retailer that the nutritional profile of these specific products does not justify. Selection frozen meals. The Metro house brand at Metro and Super C locations in Quebec and Ontario completes this tier. Metro has invested significantly in its store brand quality narrative, and selection products in categories like dairy and dry goods often deliver reasonable value. The frozen meal selection line is a weaker entry. Sodium levels are consistently high across the range, ingredient lists are long and additive heavy, and the retailer brand halo is being used to move a product that competes directly with the national budget brands on price and, unfortunately, on nutritional quality as well. What all 10 of these brands have in common, across very different price points, different positioning strategies, and different retail channels, is a reliance on something other than the product to justify the purchase. Budget brands rely on price. Comfort brands rely on familiarity. Health position brands rely on language. Retailer house brands rely on borrowed trust. None of them are relying on the ingredient list. That is the consistent tell. The smarter path through a Canadian freezer aisle is not complicated. Sodium under 800 milligrams per realistic serving. An ingredient list short enough to read without losing your place. Protein levels proportionate to the calorie count. An absence of flavor-enhancing additives that exist specifically to compensate for the real ingredients that aren't there. You started here with the assumption that your freezer aisle instincts, developed over years of Canadian grocery shopping, were telling you something accurate about quality. They were telling you something accurate about familiarity. Those are not the same thing, and the brands that built billion-dollar businesses in Canada have depended on that confusion for a very long time. Read the ingredient list. Every time, the information is there.